Alright, you sickos, it has become extremely apparent to me that it is time to do an Urban Spook follow-up video. Due to the overwhelming support on my Urban Spook analysis video and the lack of support on anything else I want to do, I think it's time that I do a follow-up and continue on this series, despite my lack of wanting to do so, because it's become so ridiculously disturbing to just watch an Urban Spook video at this point that I don't know how I'm going to talk about it, but we're going to try. So I'm going to jump right into it, but I do want to issue a content warning, and I would also like to say that after the analysis I will be doing a quick little thing to wrap up the end of this video about how to handle dark and disturbing media like this, at least the way I like to cope with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get right into the whole disturbing everything. I'm gonna get right into it. So here we go. The first video back since the last video. If you haven't seen my last video, I suggest you go watch that. But I will be starting from the Urban Spook video titled Witness. We learned that Tina Rosenberg, her sister, and her boyfriend were all out on a road trip when they were reported missing. It seems a few days later, Tina's boyfriend's car, which they were in, was found in the woods, and when the police found the car, they could see signs of a struggle inside the car, and they also found a painting called Flower Face Flora. It's important to know that Tina's little sister's name was Flora, and if you know Urban Spook, you kind of know what's coming. However, what makes this video actually, I think, the most interesting of all of the Urban Spook, his entire catalog, is that the police find everything almost immediately after it has happened, because while they're investigating the car, they hear screaming coming from the woods. So they run into the woods and they find, something horrendous, but they find Tina strapped to a tree, and her feet and arms have been cut off. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just dive into this theory really quick. A video prior, called The Clue, we learned that the police found a body buried in a pile of wax with arms separated, but there was an extra arm in the pile of wax. And since we don't have an official timeline of the Urban Spook crimes yet, I believe this to be Tina's arm. I could be wrong, but that's my theory. Police also find Flora, and her head has been smashed in, and they don't find Jack, which is interesting, but they make it back to the car, and they find a painting that has just been left there, and it has just quickly been scratched on, and the painting is of Jack, and it's called Long Jack, and it seems to depict Jack with some sort of devil horns or something, but Jack's body was never found. That could go somewhere, it couldn't. We don't have enough information yet from any of the next two videos, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't think Jack is one of the killers, but it's possible since he wasn't found. I don't know. And it's also important to know there was a struggle found. There were shown signs of struggle inside the car, so Jack could be involved with the killings or not, but Tina was also able to give a description to the police, and they made this police sketch out of it. So one of the big things about this series was that everyone was like, oh, it's so realistic and it's not supernatural. I even said that. Does that look like a human being to you? I don't think so. And especially after everything that this killer does, I think, no. It's just, I don't think it's a human being. But we don't know yet, so moving on to the next video. So this video, I actually think is the most disturbing on the channel. I'm going to talk about the details as little as I can. If you're that curious, go watch it yourself, but it's a lot. And I don't even feel like talking about it, but I'm going to kind of have to, so we can kind of move on with this investigation of the painter killer. So, Ian Ford he's a retired police officer. He was found missing, so the police go to his house and they smell something horrific coming from the barn. And once inside the barn, they find the dead body of his wife. And I'm dancing around the way she died. It's also implied in the video. It's not right out said, but it's more heavily implied. I'm just going to say she died from internal bleeding, and a horse was involved. That's all I'm going to say. And they also found the decapitated head of their granddaughter named Fiona, and her eyes were taken out of her head. And they moved into a different room and they found these faces hanging on the wall, which is fun, and none of them were recognizable or identifiable. There was a dead pig in there, and the pig's eyes were replaced with Fiona's eyes. Fun. Inside the body of the pig, sewn up, was the dead body of Ian Ford. So that's fun. As the police continued to investigate the barn, they walked into a back room where they found the rest of Fiona and a bunch of paintings. And most of these paintings don't have to do with this particular crime scene. A few of them do. And this is actually one thing that I do enjoy about Urban Spook, is the storytelling element of the name of the painting and then information we find out later, and it kind of fills in the blanks for us without it having to be outright said. A lot of these paintings that you're going to learn, that we're going to find in this video, are going to come back to make the next video after this worse. But the paintings were as follows: Breeding Mount May, Wet Skin George, Jigsaw Baby, Ian the Pig, Blowhole Isabel, Hyde and Zeke, Four Holes Fiona, Breathless Janice, Fleshhead Fred. You gotta take the jokes where you can get them. Fleshhead Fred, that's funny. Tina the Witness, and Observing Paul. So Tina the Witness actually comes back to the last episode and kind of debunks one of my theories, but I thought Tina was left alive on purpose because there was no painting, but we find out there is a painting, Tina the Witness. The last episode was called The Witness, and it was about Tina. It just seems like the police got to the scene of the crime quick enough that the killer did not have time in that last one to fully let the person die. Obviously, Tina would have died if she would have been left out there, so her intention was to be killed. But the killer kind of was almost caught, so he had to escape before he could finish his job. And so we're now stuck with the realization that Tina saw the killer, and that still doesn't bring anyone any closer to finding who it is. So those are the paintings that were found at the end of the episode called Pigs. And there was also a tape found, and it's supposed to be scary. It's this tape recovery, and it just has this face on it, and it's like, oh, scary. It's important to also note that the whole point of Urban Spook is that the creator has an Instagram account where he was making, or they were making all of these paintings beforehand, and then they just decided to make an internet horror series out of them. So all these paintings existed prior, and the Urban Spook YouTube is just making a story out of these paintings and based around them. So that can be kind of why the plot seems to just be one disturbing event after another with a loose sort of plot tying them together. Yeah, that's all I had to say about that, I think. Yeah. Alright, moving on to the final episode of Urban Spook up to this point. And I know I said Pigs is the most disturbing, but I don't know. This one's close, too. This one's very close. I think Pigs is the most disturbing just because of one of the killings in it, because of how May was killed. But this next one is just like, it's so horrendous. Again, I'm going to be kind of tiptoeing around the details, so if you want to actually know what happened, go watch the video for yourself. Again, viewer discretion is heavily advised. So, we get a 911 call in this episode, and it's from a girl named Isabel, and she gives the police the wrong address. That is told to us in text before, at the beginning of this episode. And she gives the wrong address, and the police go to that address, and there they find another crime scene. They find bloody shears outside, and when they go inside, they find just something awful. A family was killed in there. It was a mom and a dad of a not yet born baby. And the not yet born baby is about. Remember the painting. I'm gonna let you put that together yourself. I don't feel like talking about it. Also, this. So yeah. Fun stuff. And then, if you'll remember the painting called Paul the Witness, you can kind of figure out what happened to Paul. He was made to watch. Also, there's one final disturbing bit that happened to Paul, but it's so disturbing that I don't want to talk about it. I don't even want to show the text that tells you what happened in this video. So go watch it for yourself if you must know. But I don't think you want to know. It's bad. Take my word for it. But the police do eventually find the original 911 caller's house, and that is even better. They walk in and find a decapitated body, and there's a painting where the head should be, and the painting is called Infinite Maw Bruce. Dude's name was Bruce. And they find the dead body of Janice inside the bathroom, where the lock of the bathroom had been drilled out, and her head had also been drilled out. Remember the painting Blowhole Janice? And inside the hole was a note and a riddle. I love riddles, and this was the riddle, and I can't figure out what it means. My guess is whale. I don't know. Maybe mole? Or worm? I don't know. I don't know what it means. Maybe you do. And that's why I'm putting this out there, to help solve the mystery. That's the fun thing about these ARGs and these analog horror series, is that we get to solve the mystery together. And so I am presenting the facts and my own theories to help sort of foster this atmosphere around mystery solving. And that's one of the ways I'm able to cope with how horrendously disturbing this series is. Oh, and there's this. They, this little just nugget of sunshine. They recorded the 911 call, and it's actually extremely well acted. Like, extremely well acted. So, good job, Urban Spook, on that one. So, I'm gonna issue a major content warning. Just know that this is fake. This is acting. This is not real. And that's actually not ironic. It's actually fake. This is actually acting. So, keep that in the back of your mind if you're starting to get a little too about this at any point in time during this phone call section. And if it does start to bother you, I understand if you leave. But I'm going to go ahead and roll it. So, go ahead, listen to this horrific thing.
What's your emergency? Okay, now, what's the address? They killed my husband. Oh, okay. The police are on their way. Do you have somewhere to hide? I locked myself in the bathroom. Okay, good. Are you able... Do you know they're there? Yes. Yes, please. Please. Okay, ma'am. The police are on their way. I need you to stay calm for me, okay? What's your name? Isabel Jackson. Okay, Isabel, do you have anything to defend yourself with? Oh my God, they're gonna get us. The what? Isabel, do you have anything to defend yourself with? Okay, listen, stay calm. Are there any windows in your bathroom? Isabel? Hello? Hello? Isabel?
Oh, well, did you look at that? Okay, now that we can all relax and calm down now after that traumatic event, I'm gonna get into some theories. So, something that's confirmed in this video is that there are two killers. We see two sets of footprints in the blood. At least the police found that and they took a picture of it. So that's what we see. And this is a theory that has actually been floating around the whole kind of urban spook mythos for a while, at least in the fandom, that there are two killers and that there's no way one person could pull this off by themselves. However, whenever a picture is taken, like we've seen in the past, or a police sketch is given, it seems to only be one person. However, the police sketch and then the self-portrait from the first video don't necessarily line up. They might, but again, not necessarily. So it's kind of confirmed in this video that there are two killers. The sets of footprints in the blood, though, there's one booted footprint and there's one barefoot. And that leads me to believe, kind of back to my theory about Jack. Perhaps Jack is one of the people that helps, and he is a human being, but the supernatural entity that does all the horrendous things is the barefooted footprint. Could be wrong. This could be Janice's footprint. Not Jan. Which one? Isabel. This could be Isabel's footprint. I don't know. That's just my theory. Another thing, the MO of this killer seems to be families. Almost every killing, and I don't think all of them, but almost every killing involves almost an entire family. We had the entire Ford family in that barn. We had a sister and boyfriend duo in the witness video, the first video I covered on this video, and the family that was killed with all that brutal stuff. Every murder seems to be family. There were twins at one point. There's other families that have been killed by this urban spook killer. I think that is significant, but I don't know why yet. So we will find out as Urban Spook continues to upload into his series. And if you're only here for the Urban Spook analysis, then that, my friends, is over. But I am going to talk a little bit longer about disturbing content in general and some of the things about Urban Spook that have been said by people I admire and my thoughts on that. So I'm going to go ahead and get into that. But if you are done, if you're tired of watching this crap, then I'll see you later. But to those of you who are still here, Urban Spook is understandably controversial. It wasn't a while back, but a YouTuber that I enjoy, and actually the inspiration for me starting my own channel, Wendigoon, on his second channel, Wendigang, did a live stream where he was watching these analog horror series that people were recommending to him, and he watched a lot of things. He watched Vita Carnis, which I have videos on, so, you know. And he also watched Urban Spook, among other things. But he really loved Vita Carnis, much like myself. And he really hated Urban Spook. And his reasons for that, I thought were compelling. But I also had some compelling thoughts to the reaction that people were having to his reaction. So he said that Urban Spook was kind of just disturbing for the sake of being disturbing, and there was no plot advantage towards the disturbing nature of the videos, which is true, and Urban Spook knows that, and I don't think he's ever been shy about what the channel is actually about. The point of the channel is to disturb you. Something I meant to mention about the pigs video is that the sound profile in that video is so overwhelmingly loud and the content is so overwhelmingly disturbing that I felt dizzy watching it, which is actually kind of cool. But I mean, Wendigoon turned that video off almost immediately because of the nature of the murder, and that's fair. That's not what he was there to watch. He wasn't there to just watch something that's shock value disturbing. And to be honest with you, I'm not either. I don't love that. I feel like my attitude about this whole video has sort of made that extremely obvious. But again, we gotta look at what we're coming to here. We're coming to a channel that's entire point is to disturb. So if you're just there to be disturbed, then dude, Urban Spook is knocking it out of the park. And that's the point of the video. And I don't mean to rag on Urban Spook. It's not like, oh, that's some lower form of horror media. It's just a different kind, and it's less deep, and it's more just there to freak you out. And if that's not what you're here for, I get it. I totally get it. I love deep philosophical horror, and that's not what Urban Spook is about. It just isn't. So don't come to a horse show expecting a tractor pull. Does that analogy make sense? I'm really showing how country I am. Don't show up to a Mexican restaurant asking where the tofu is. Like, it ain't happening. So basically know what you're here for if you're looking for Urban Spook stuff. That's kind of my only point on that. Something that bothered me was that it seemed like to me there was this big, like, everyone liked Urban Spook, and then as soon as Wendigoon was like, well, I don't like Urban Spook because it's just disturbing for the sake of disturbing, which is fair, everyone was suddenly like, man, screw Urban Spook, we all hate disturbing for the sake of disturbing, we need real plot. And it's like, okay, I don't know who's saying what, but it seems like the same people who were all like, Wendigoon, watch Urban Spook, were like, yeah, like, what do you mean? Yeah, this is horrible. Ugh, who would make you watch this? It's like, have your own opinions, and don't let other people's opinions immediately change your opinion. If someone's opinion is going to change your own, that's fine, but let it sink in a little bit before you just like, oh yeah, you're right, you know, I was wrong immediately. Like, have a little bit more integrity in your beliefs than that. The other thing I want to talk about in this video is just how to handle disturbing content. Literally about 10 minutes before I started filming this, I was going through those videos and watching and writing notes down, and it was still heavy, even though I was watching them at 2 times speed with the sound off because I'd watched them enough. It's just heavy. It's really, really heavy, and I mean that in like a sort of spiritual way. Like, it sits on you heavily, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is just so dark and disturbing, and you got to kind of dissociate from it a little bit. You got to understand this is fake. Anything that I'm imagining that's disturbing is in my head because it's all just paintings and little stick figure drawings. It's not visually there as in some like disturbing movies would be. You also have to be able to find an out, to find some sort of happy place, if you will, to go to get you out of that sort of heavy funk after watching something so disturbing. I went to pictures of my girlfriend, or sometimes I turn to scripture because I'm a Christian. Other times I simply just step outside where it's bright, because it's awfully dark in my room. This video's been dark. You can already hear the comments now. It's too dark on your face. And that's kind of the point of this video. I do have more light that I can shine. And I don't know how that's going to mess up aspect ratio on my video, but let some light in every now and then. Metaphorically, and literally just physically let light in sometimes. Because darkness is only temporary. Darkness is only the absence of something, whereas light is the presence of something else. So bring yourself into the light every now and then, and don't let the dark and disturbing swallow you whole. Thank you guys so much for watching this horrifically disturbing video. I hope I didn't bother you too much. And if you do decide to go watch Urban Spook, please remember to let the light in when you're done. Otherwise, I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all next time.